Wait, is that when you're a baby?
Well, also when you're an old person,
I see.
I've understood too, where you're kind of like the sensation is either confused or not very clear, and you're just like, no, I don't think I have to, and then you're like, oh, damn it, oh, I sure did
just
have
like
to do that.
I just like a baby or a toddler just being like, nah, I don't need to pee.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
yeah. Do you need to pee? And toddler's like, yeah, I could pee. That baby, whatever his name from Roger Rabbit.
Oh right, Herman, I think.
Baby Herman, yes. Boy,
Yeah.
that is a movie that does not really like. It's still interesting to watch, but I don't know what it was about watching that movie. I was just like, oh, some of this stuff doesn't seem like it aged very well, and yet it's a
Really?
noir film meant to be set in the 30s.
Yeah, I think it's still a great movie.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's like
Not
super
offensive.
offside in it. Yeah.
No, definitely nothing offensive, but I'm just like, something about this doesn't feel right to me, and I'm like, oh god, I loved this movie when I was a kid, and I don't know. I think just there's problems, and Paul, I'm having problems.
Is it just it's like a reflexive thing? You're like, this is something I enjoyed when I was a kid. It's probably bad now.
Yeah.
Like it's probably got stuff in it that I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it might be? It might actually be the fact that I don't remember the movie that well. Like when I went back to watch it a second time, that I was like, oh yeah, I remember this movie. And then what I remember is that I watched the movie, I then read the book, the children's like level novel that you could get for it, right? Which is it's like 60 pages and it's knocked down, right? And lots of like pictures from the movie or whatever. So it's more like a summary.
I feel like they have to probably gloss over a lot of stuff in a kid's book.
Yeah, and I think what happened is all the stuff that happens in the book is what sticks. Like you still get you still have the dip, and you still have the Christopher Lloyd getting run over by the steamroller, but some of the more horrifying pictures aren't really in it. You still have like Jessica Rabbit playing patty cake and the images from that and everything too, but there's something about reading it that felt different. And you read like the children's novelization of the movie and it comes off feeling different. And I think that's what I remembered most of all. When I sat down to watch the film, I'm like, I don't remember any of these things that are happening in the film, or barely remember any of them.
Now I'm imagining like a for younger kids version with like textures and stuff, so you can like squish Bob Hoskins' chest hair or like beep a button on like a car horn. Something.
There's a splat.
Oh, bug splat!
Nice.
Ooh, the nighttime bug splat.
You can squish Jessica Rabbit.
Honk.
Honk honk.
And also Bob Hoskins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are on like facing pages.
Yeah, when you flip the page over, it's like, oh, it's the same thing on either side. Yeah. Oh my god.
But yeah, I think I saw it when I was like quite a young kid, and I thought it was like I was kind of freaked out by it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's scary.
But then I saw it later, and then I saw it when I was a little older, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I feel like I saw it actually fairly recently, and continued to enjoy it.
I was playing Trivial Pursuit recently and forgot the name of the shoe liquid barrel thing. It's the dip. I forgot the name of the yeah.
I thought you were gonna say you forgot the name of like the shoe that he dipped in the. I was like, that's a very specific thing to remember.
Mm-hmm. That's Trivial Pursuit for you. Yeah. I heard that the Trivial Pursuit you played too was like it was 90s Disney or like 2000s Disney or something. So it was like the Shaggy DA, and it was like all the stuff that post Renaissance and like yeah. It's like, does anyone remember any of this stuff?
Yeah, Peach was there, Evil Bad Man. The Touchstone Pictures film. It was very specific, and there were like lots of questions about like different lands in the parks, and they really like Walt and Roy Disney. And
is there stuff about the like acrimonious stuff about like the
anti-union thing?
No.
Or control, or the control of the Disney company between like
no, this was more of a fluff product.
Oh, it's too bad.
But yeah, the one piece of information that stuck with me was that there was like, what character with an animal hat with a tail was played by Leslie Nielsen, and the character's name is Swamp Fox.
Can any of one of us name the movie? Is it
No.
Oliver and Company?
No, I think it was like part of a Disney afternoon thing. Like, I don't know. It might have been a recurring show and not like a movie.
Leslie Nielsen did a Disney afternoon TV show. Wow. All right.
Just like a
I
voice.
just remember the name of the character. I don't
Swamp
know
Fox.
any other context.
Seems like a Tailspin thing. I don't know why, but
For some reason, I don't think I've ever played a game of Trivial Pursuit in which the questions were at all like contemporary. Like every game of Trivial Pursuit I've ever played, it's always been like questions from, you know, the 50s or the 60s or 70s, like questions that I had no hope of answering. It'd be like, you know, who won the Super Bowl in this year? And it was like, I don't know.
just who won the Super Bowl last year? And you're like, what? Well, this
I
was
mean,
made
also that, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a trip when I imagine a lot of people who are currently awake at this point will say, when you try to play a game that was like, when you discover that, oh, this was clearly made for the American market and no one else.
Wow. Sorry. Jen with awesome trivia here. That Toon Shoe that got put into the dip in Who Framed Roger Rabbit didn't have a name,
Sure.
but it was originally going to be a cartoon gopher, but they were going to lose their PG rating
Oh, yeah.
if they did that. So they switched it to a shoe.
Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't scarring at all.
Yeah. It's got to be like a weird, you know, if you're like the ratings board, right? You know, you're like, okay, you know, some action movie comes in, you're like, okay, you know, go through it. Okay, who, you know, do they show the people getting shot? How much sex? How much, you know, how do they show, you know, nudity? You know, you've got a pretty standard checklist to go through for like stuff, you know, different movies, different things. But something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit comes along, you're just like, how the hell do we rate this thing?
Yeah.
Like,
There's innuendo.
what's the precedent for this?
Yeah.
Like, can we legitimately give something a rating for like, give something, you know, a mature rating for inappropriate patty cake?
Yeah. We know what it's referring to, but they're not actually doing anything. But does the innuendo mean that it should be rated higher? I mean, yeah. We have Corey and I have a mutual friend who used to work for the Alberta Film Classification Board, and they talked a lot about like, you watch a lot of stuff on your own, but you also tend to watch some stuff in groups with other people, and so you'll come together. It sounds like, and you'll talk about your ratings, but you also end up watching stuff at twice speed with the subtitles on, because you have to rate everything, right? And yeah, the kind of hurdles of, you're given a list, an exhaustive list of, if you see something like this, then you should be leaning more in this direction. If you see something like this, you're leaning more in that direction. And it's funny how it's like, yeah, there's like an algorithm involved, but it also comes down to the human element of people being like, I'm willing to, you know, I can give this a bit of a pass or not, because it is down to the province has to make a decision, which means in BC, where we are now, similar thing, I'm sure, where it's like the province has to say, what do we classify this as?
And it's like a they have to, or there's this whole thing about like what do you call it, censorship, right? Where because they don't want to censor things, they can't tell people why their ratings are getting what they're rated.
Yeah.
They can't be like, you've got a sex scene in here. If you cut it down, if you take that out, you'll get a PG rating. If you keep it in, you get an R rating. People can guess that.
Yeah.
because it makes sense, but they can't actually tell you to take it out to change the rating. Because then they would be like saying, take this out and you'll get the rating, and they would be sort of demanding you to take it out.
Yeah.
It's
I've seen
very odd.
different systems where they're like do the cuts themselves as a ratings board.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or they give you notes about like what has to be cut as like
really?
the director or editor or something like that. Yeah. There's all different systems. It's fun. If you want to learn more about movies and things, I recommend starting a movie podcast with a bunch of friends who know way more about movies than you do, and then covering a recent movie called Censor that came out, which is about the video nasty era, and a really good movie if you like horror.
But that gets in that. But what would the name of this podcast be?
Hey, check it out. I should be releasing more episodes eventually.
I always we've gotten some good mileage out of the ESRB ratings for games for video games on Checkpoint. Because of course sometimes because they have to in that case they do actually describe why it gets the rating in certain circumstances and stuff. So they're talking about something in a game in that way in the very like dry language that they use is often hilarious. I think my favorite was Sam and Max Hit the Road, which is a great game. And it's rated T, I guess, T for teen, or whatever the equivalent was. But and
it's for all the alcohol use, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like alcohol use. I think it is, and also rewards harming non-threatening characters.
Wow. Huh.
It's like, if you're fighting, like if you're like a guy, you're shooting a bunch of soldiers who are shooting at you, that's fine. But rewards injuring non-threatening characters.
We saw one.
To be honest, if I think back to Sam Max Hit the Road, yeah, there is a reasonably large amount of that.
Disney Plus has been doing that where they're like, this thing is rated whatever, and then it has like stuff at the top that says for this, and this. Like they kind of have an extensive list. And one of the ones I saw the other day was like for like, violence or whatever it was, but then also said, and a kidnapped person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And I was like, oh, not kidnapping, but a kidnapped person, which I thought was an interesting way to sum that up.
I've definitely seen rated whatever mature for themes. Like that's it, just themes.
Yeah,
they won't even tell you what the themes are.
But the themes are sure mature. It's like, yeah, but you could.
It's got some themes in it, though.
Could you be a little more mature and actually spell them out for me? Like,
wink, wink. Themes.
Somebody I saw somebody earlier say, wait, so did Canada adopt the MPAA system? We did not. We don't. I mentioned earlier that it's provincial. There are boards in every province in Canada that are supposed to review their stuff. I don't know if every province has one, because I knew Alberta had one, and maybe other provinces will just be like, our stance is to just take whatever another province is doing and just work on that. But yeah, like in Alberta, we have 14A.
Look at that in BC too.
Yeah, but it was not a thing for a very long time, and then all of a sudden they did a thing where they're like, well, it's not GPG and then R, and then GPG, PG-13, and R.
But we understand them.
Yeah, and at some point they were like, well, now we're going to have GPG, PG-13, 14A, 18A, and R. I don't think in BC I don't think we have PG-13 and 14. Like, yeah, I know, right?
They're like, this one is too adult for somebody 13, but 1 year later they're fine.
I think at a certain point, like it was like we're seeing PG-13 written on the movies, and then we're also seeing 14A written on the same movie, and it's like, oh, I see. That's meant to be, that's meant to be the same thing, because you see an American box that'll say PG-13 on it, but it'll have a 14A sticker on it as well, and you're like, oh, okay, I see. But yeah, I think there was a point where we had it and then we didn't, and so you might see things that would have both. Yeah. My favorite was in BC, where you guys had restricted, and it was a cat. It was a panther, and it had the word restricted written across the side of it, and it was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it made it look awesome.
Yeah. It's like, I really want to go see that now. There's a cool panther in it.
There's no panther in this. This is just a bunch of naked people.
Yeah.
This movie sucks.
This movie wasn't what I thought it was about at all.
Yeah. Mr. Movie Theater owner, when does the panther show up? Just keep watching, kid.
Yeah. Once you get past all the boning, the panther shows up. Will the panther eat the two people who are boning?
Hopefully.
We can only hope.
I mean, obviously most of the ratings boards agree on things, but there were a few times when things were rated PG or rated 18A in or whatever, restricted, I guess, in America and 14A in Canada. That's happened a couple times.
Yeah.
Things that were just sort of on the border between like PG-13 and R-rated, and they went R in America, and we had the sort of line that we had the slightly different line there. But of course, then you also with the 14A. Remember when I was a kid, you always used to get to like, you know, the parent. It's like the cool parent, right? Where it's like, my son would like to go to this movie. Also, all of these other kids are related to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm giving them permission as their parents.
These 10 kids can also go in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do ask myself sometimes that if I ever have a kid, will I be the cool parent or the hard parent? And it's like, I guess you probably just figure that out when the time comes.
There are two types of parents.
Yep.
You can be, you can be both.
Oh, that's yeah, I should mix it up. Really set them on edge. They'll never have a clue. They'll never see it coming. Just like
rapidly pivot from one to the other.
Like good cop, bad cop, but it's the same person.
Yep.
Just
keep them
reach
guessing.
a state of superposition.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that kid would never ask me, this hypothetical child would never ask me again. They'd just go talk to Heather for permission. Yeah, random trivia. I'm not going to tell my kid, oh, your dad's a switch. I'm going to tell him that.
No, because you're going to tell your child the truth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When you give the talk about the birds and the bees, you'll tell them you're a bee.
Some people are birds and some people are bees.
And some people are both.
Yeah, we don't point.
We call them switches sometimes.
Mm-hmm. They just switch back and forth of being a bird and a bee, and we don't point. We never point. We don't point.
And we don't spend too long as a bird, because then we forget what being human is like.
That's right.
Right. That's important.
Oh. How many?
I like having a discussion with your kid about sex education, the birds and the bees, and then just slowly transitioning into a discussion about animorphs. and then they go to school the next day, and you get the call from school being like, could you come in? Your kid has been saying some things that we think maybe you should we should talk about.
Yeah.
We think you need sex ed.
You're not looking to talk to me. You want to talk to K.A. Applegate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like that's a fairly, that trope of spend too much time as a bird and you won't remember how to come back. I swear that also happens in Discworld.
Yeah.
So is that common to a lot of fantasy? The idea of if you change into one thing and you spend too much time there, you'll forget how to come back?
Yeah, it
I think
depends on what kind of mind-body system they're working on.
Yeah,
It's more common in the sci-fi.
in the Discworld, they've got the borrowing,
Right.
is what, Granny Weatherwax does, where you don't become the animal. You sort of inhabit the body of the animal, of an existing animal. But
Yeah.
they talk about that when you come, just saying like when she comes back from like being a hawk or whatever, she spends a lot of time trying to like fluff her feathers that aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like Game of Thrones has the wargs or whatever they are.
Right.